Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to continue our look at the YouTube videos on Angel Island. Again, as I've mentioned in other videos, I can't find documentaries. There's just not a lot of them on Angel Island that I can get a hold of, so we've got to YouTube. So what this video is on specifically, so this is Discovering Angel Island, the story behind the poems. It's on a channel from KQED, which is a California channel. So in this video, this one specifically focuses on the discovery of the poems in the dormitories and how the real history of the ruins of Angel Island were saved. So what had happened was, Angel Island was, if you're aware of this, it's an island in San Francisco Bay. There was an immigration station specifically focusing on people coming in from the West, but most of the history is focused on Chinese immigration and the Chinese Exclusion Act, and basically them trying to keep the Chinese out. And what had happened was that the administration building burnt down. So they, rather than what they did, which again, this is something very similar happened at Ellis Island, where the administration made of wood was burnt down, and they rebuilt it in Ellis Island to the giant stone structure that we have today. Angel Island did not do this. They just moved operations somewhere else. So the rest of the building is the dormitories, the hospital, the cafeterias and stuff were left. And the island eventually became a state park, and they were going to tear these down. So tear down these derelict buildings until one of the park rangers decided to go have a look, and he noticed writing on the wall. So he invited some professors he knew, and they realized that the people who had been detained here had left their mark. They had left poetry carved into the walls. And so this began a restoration project and the turning the immigration station into a National Historic Landmark. I don't know whether it's a state, I think it's a national, or a state historic landmark. And the restoration of this and the translation of some of these poems and the connection to the reawakening of the understanding of the history of Angel Island, which stands in very much stark contrast to the history we hear about Ellis Island. So rather than, again, Ellis Island, where it's mass majority of Europeans were coming in, that is there during the peak when Ellis Island was doing tons of people. You were there. My ancestors, a lot of people of my nice little white complexion here and my European ancestry, were there for a maximum of a couple of weeks, and that's rare. And that's normally if you were sick or something. So they didn't turn people back all that often from Ellis Island. Angel Island was the exact opposite. A lot of people were sent back because you had the Chinese Exclusion Act. But this video, which is not that long, I think it's, 12 minutes, 10 seconds. So this one very much talks about how they nearly lost this history because they were going to tear these buildings down. And then they discovered all these writings on the walls. Now they are covered in layers of paint, because if you can imagine, the people who are running this immigration station they don't know what the heck these words mean. They don't know what were these strange symbols, at least in their minds, because again, these are going to be very, very racist, very, very xenophobic wardens of this immigration station that was very much designed to keep people out. So, why, yes, you did have some white people and Europeans come through the immigration station, they weren't common. It was, and then you had it was pretty much Asians, mostly the Chinese. Yeah, you get some of the Japanese, You'd also get some rare East Asians from people like India. In fact, they talk. I don't know which video it is, this one or another one, talked about a video of this gentleman and his family who were from India who came through, and how he had lost his citizenship and everything, and it's a whole big story. But mostly it was the Chinese, and mostly what this video talks about is how they discovered these writings buried under layers of paint and worked to restore the hospital and the dormitories and the history and the words of these people who spent weeks, if not months, detained here. You had the Paper Sons, which I've talked, and the Paper Daughters, mostly it's Paper Sons, talk about this and how they had to memorize village place, entire villages, and where everything was and who lived here and where things were in their little houses. Even particularly as in case of the Paper Sons and Daughters, these were not their families, or they're not their relatives. Sometimes it's uncles, sometimes it's just strangers, and they have to memorize this. And if they get one thing wrong that doesn't match up with the person they're claiming to be their family, they're out. So you had men, women, children who were just scared. Most of the time they're not let out. They're let out maybe once a week. So they're trapped inside these buildings in San Francisco Bay, in a strange country, being interrogated. They called it interview, but they're very much being interrogated into and under high amounts of pressure. And a lot of them were, the vast majority of them were sent home. They were sent back. They were just desperately trying to get in because the U.S. did not want to let them in. And of course this lasted until the 1940s, when they repealed the Chinese Exclusion Act and we became allies with China during World War II. So that's pretty much, not that the racism stopped, because yeah, it didn't, but our attempts to keep the Chinese out of the country stopped. So, but again, this video is very much focusing on the preservation of this national historic monument and the translation and preservation of these carvings into the walls. So that's really it for this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, leave a positive comment if you have one. Check out the rest of the videos I'm doing on media for Angel Island, particularly check out the books. The books are much longer videos. Look forward to, I am going to be doing some deep dives into immigration in general, but Ellis Island specifically next month, and I think I'm doing cooking, possibly women inventors, and a bunch of other stuff. So check out the rest of the channel and look forward to more. Thank you.